As Link sailed home across the great Hyrulean Sea, a dark storm was brewing on the horizon. The violent maelstrom crushed the tiny ship. Desperately clinging to a piece of the wreckage, our hero floated towards a mysterious tropical shore, unconscious and barely alive. Through half-strained eyes, he gazed out at the tropical forest. Just before succumbing to his exhaustion, he thought he could see a large spotted egg atop the volcano that rose up in the distance. And that's how our story begins in The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Game Boy. Despite the fact that this was the first Zelda game designed for the monochromatic handheld system, its world is surprisingly large, with memorable characters and classic Zelda gameplay. It all started as an unsanctioned after-hours project at Nintendo. Kazuaki Morita was one of Nintendo's top programmers and had worked on Ice Climber, as well as all of the early Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. Games. He got one of the first development kits for the Game Boy, and as a way to experiment and test the system's limitations, he began to develop his own Zelda-like game. Over time, other members of Nintendo's staff joined Morita until eventually the project had turned into a promising prototype. The prototype looked so good, in fact, that after completing A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, director Takashi Tezuka was given the green light to make the Game Boy Zelda project official. At first, the idea was to recreate A Link to the Past on the Game Boy, and most of the developers from that game joined the Link's Awakening team. This is why the overworld for both games features a number of similar locations, like the desert, swamp, tower, Turtle Rock, and of course, the castle in the center. At some point in development, it was decided that this game should go in its own direction. I'm not sure if the team determined that cramming all of A Link to the Past onto a Game Boy cartridge was overly ambitious, or if they just had too many original ideas that they wanted to implement, but either way, it was a good move. It's very likely that a handheld version of A Link to the Past would have been a forgettable footnote in the history of the series, and what was made instead is a masterpiece that still holds up today. The legendary Shigeru Miyamoto was the producer for this game, but he didn't get very involved in the early phases of development, allowing Tezuka to take the lead. Instead, Miyamoto did a lot of playtesting and gave valuable feedback on ways that the game could be improved. Tezuka was given almost no restrictions on how he could design the game, and he wanted to make something different. He didn't want the game to be set in the world of Hyrule. He didn't want it to be about the mystical Triforce. He didn't even want to include the titular Princess Zelda. Inspired by the television show Twin Peaks, Tezuka created a mysterious world surrounding a small town with suspicious inhabitants. Kensuke Tanabe, the brilliant designer who had created many of the core gameplay mechanics for the North American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, was brought on as the writer for Link's Awakening. He had written the script for A Link to the Past, so he was a natural choice. Tanabe developed the basis for a story about a strange island featuring a large egg atop a mountain. With a much greater emphasis placed on the story this time, an additional writer was added to the team. Yoshiaki Koizumi hadn't done much work at Nintendo before Link's Awakening, but he would go on to be the director for Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy. He helped flesh out the story and the characters for Link's Awakening, and is the one responsible for the game's ending. The game's plot revolves around finding musical instruments, so music plays a very important role. The score was a collaboration between two women who hadn't worked on any major games prior to Link's Awakening. Minako Hamano was in her early 20s when she got the job to compose music for Link's Awakening, and she would later go on to work on the soundtrack for Super Metroid. The second composer, Kazue Ishikawa, was about the same age, and she would go on to compose music for the Wario Land series, as well as the ill-fated Star Fox 2. The two may have been rookies, but they delivered a chiptune soundtrack so good that it's almost hard to believe you're listening to a Game Boy. The game features cameos from other Nintendo characters, including Princess Peach, Goombas, Kirby, and even Wart from Super Mario Bros. 2. This game also introduces the item trading subquest, which is seen in many later Zelda games. It's unique little additions like these that make this game so memorable. So of course Link's Awakening was a big hit when it released in the summer of 1993. It was the top-selling Game Boy game in the month of its release, and was so popular, it increased overall Game Boy sales in North America by 13% in '93, and remained on bestseller lists for years after its release. But it didn't stop there. After Nintendo released the Game Boy Color, they created a new colorized version of the game. Link's Awakening DX didn't just look great, it had new content, including an additional dungeon and compatibility with the Game Boy printer. Then in 2019, Nintendo remade the game again, this time for the Nintendo Switch. This version feels a bit different and includes more new content, but at its core, it's still the same game from 1993, and it was still very popular, selling over 6 million copies, putting it squarely within the top 50 best-selling games for the Switch. Personally, I prefer the older versions, but no matter which one you play, you can't go wrong. If you'd like to play Link's Awakening DX on a modern platform, it is one of the Game Boy games included with the Switch's online service. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges retro games are notorious for. The world is large, and many of its secrets are well hidden. The dungeons can be very tricky and can have you running around in circles for hours. You can continue as many times as you need to, but if you want to get the game's best ending, you'll have to survive to the end without dying a single time. But what if I told you where to find every hidden weapon and item so you'll always have the equipment you need? What if I showed you secret glitches and shortcuts you can use to make some of the most difficult dungeons easy? And what if I told you the best way to defeat every boss? Even the ultimate nightmare itself? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and check out YouCanBeatVideoGames.com for episode lists, news, and official You Can Beat Video Games merchandise. And please join our Patreon for access to an exclusive Discord community and a chance to vote on future episodes. Let's get started. Alright, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. We're going to jump right in and start up a new game. We are playing on the colorized DX version of the game, but if you're playing the original black and white version, you should still find this video helpful. As the game begins, we wake up in a bed inside Marin and Terran's house. I don't think they ever explicitly say what the relationship is between these two. I always thought they were father and daughter, but they very well could be brother and sister, or maybe they're just roommates trying to save on rent. Once you hop out of bed, you can try to run out the door, but it's dangerous to go alone, so you'll need to talk to Tarin first to get your shield. Considering all of the other cameos in this game, and his big black mustache, it seems pretty obvious that Tarin is supposed to be Pasquale from Chuck E. Cheese's. Or maybe Mario. Maybe. The jury's still out on that one. In any case, he gives you the shield, and while it's not the sword, it's better than nothing, so we'll head outside and start exploring the village. This woman is more excited about sweeping than a Roomba or Danny Tanner, and when we barge into this guy's house, we find a shy old man inside. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have just come in here. Old Man Orira will be happy to provide tips on what we should do next in our quest, assuming that we call him from one of these rotary phones that you'll find in many locations across the island. Don't ask me how Link knows which number to dial, but this is especially useful if you stop playing the game for a while and don't remember what you were doing when you started up again. In front of this house, we'll meet a friendly chain chomp from the Super Mario Bros. Universe named BowWow, and this kid that's playing ball tells us that if you press Start, Select A and B all at the same time, you'll have the opportunity to save and quit the game. If you're trying to get the game's best ending, this does not count as dying, so if you're going for that ending, you should save and quit frequently. This is the village library. Most of the books here are boring instruction manuals that will tell you a bit about how to play the game, like this one about warp holes. If you had burning questions about warp holes that you were afraid to ask, you'll find the answers in this book. Now there are a couple interesting books in this library, like this one down in the lower right corner that we're not able to read just yet, and that one that's up on the shelf that's too high to reach. We're going to just have to come back here later when we have some different equipment, so for now we're going to exit the library and head down to the Taranbo shores. This sign says that the Tail Cave is to the right, and we are definitely not ready for that just yet. We don't even have the sword, so we're going to head down to the beach instead. There are a couple ways that you can go here, but I think this upper path is a bit safer, and this sign tells us to not touch the sea urchins, which seems like good advice. You want to hold down the B button so that you'll raise your shield, and that will protect you from the urchins from the front, and then you'll be able to just push them out of the way. As we approach the sword, we'll meet the mysterious owl for the first time. He seems to indicate that the monsters are starting to act violently because of our arrival. I guess that the monsters were downright friendly before we got here. According to the owl, the only way to leave this island is to wake the windfish. I'm not sure what that means just yet, nor am I sure that we should be trusting every random bird that we meet. But in any case, now that we've found our sword, we're back in business, and our adventure can truly begin. You'll automatically equip the sword, but you don't have to keep it equipped in this game and can use other weapons or items instead. You can mash the attack button to rapidly attack, or you can hold it down to charge up a devastating spin attack. If you tap the sword against a wall, it will make a different noise if there's a place that you can blow open with a bomb. Many of these spots are obvious because of cracks in the wall, but not all of them. If you head over here to the right, you'll find a dead end in a chest that we can't open just yet, and so we'll head back to the left, where we'll find this strange house. This gator that looks like Leatherhead from the Ninja Turtles is Sail, and this is his house of bananas. Sail may be the first member of the infamous Yiga clan, and although he's obsessed with bananas, he likes canned goods even more, something that we'll keep in mind in case we find any. Once you're done talking to Sail, make your way to the left. There's a trick that you can do as you're fighting the enemies to get more money. Normally, whenever you pick up a rupee, you'll only get one added to your money, but if you stand directly where the rupee spawns and hold out your shield, you'll get 2 rupees instead of 1. Now we just found a Guardian Acorn, which will reduce the damage we take by half, and you can see when we touch this Octorok, it doesn't look like we took damage at all because we have the Guardian Acorn. And there we got the rupee trick. We collected that rupee right as it spawned, holding out our shield, and we got 2 instead of 1. Of course, even with this trick, collecting a significant amount of rupees by fighting monsters will take all day. And if you head down into this well, we'll find the game's first piece of heart. There are 12 pieces of heart hidden throughout the game, and if we find them all, we'll be able to make 3 full heart containers. Once you're done in the well, make your way up here, and according to this sign, this is the way to the mysterious forest. Or at least it's a little bit mysterious. Hoot! It's our good friend Woodsy the Owl again. Don't worry, Woodsy, we're not going to pollute this forest, although we may kill some of the monsters in here. Well, there he goes telling us that we need to wake up the windfish again. Yeah, we heard you the first time, Woodsy. Although at the end of his monologue, this time he says that the windfish is watching. Well, is it sleeping or watching? What kind of fish is this? In any case, you're going to want to make your way up here, taking out any moblins that are in your way. And we're going to encounter this strange raccoon. He tells us that he's sensitive to things like dust or powder, and that's a clue on how to get by this guy. If you just try to walk by the raccoon, you'll be teleported to another part of the map in an homage to the Lost Woods from the original game. Teleportation seems like a very powerful ability for a woodland creature to possess, so if we're going to get by that raccoon, we're going to need a different strategy. If we head around here to the left and then go up, if we go over to the left again, this will take us along the path that leads back to the raccoon, but we're not ready for him just yet. This sign warns us about cracked floors. We'd be wise to heed that warning as we enter this cave, and you'll want to take out the first bat, or keys as they're called in this game, while you're down at the bottom so that you won't get bumped into a pit. We found another one of those Guardian Acorns. You'll find a Guardian Acorn after killing 12 consecutive enemies without taking any damage, and it will last until you take 3 hits from enemies. And you can see what happens if you stand too long on a cracked area. A pit will open up underneath you, and you'll take a half heart of damage. If we head up over here, you'll see a piece of heart, but we won't be able to get it right now. You're supposed to have the power bracelet to get that one. And if you exit the cave on this side, we'll find a toadstool. You hold it over your head and a mellow aroma flows into your nostrils. Yeah, those are the spores, Link. You probably shouldn't do that. Past the mushroom is a dead end, so we're going to go back into the cave where we saw that piece of heart. Make a mental note of where this cave is, because while you're supposed to have the power bracelet to get that piece of heart, I am going to show you a trick a little bit later to be able to get it once we have the feather. Try not to linger too long on the cracked floors in that room, and make your way back out of the cave. Whenever you defeat about 40 enemies, you'll find a piece of power which will double the attack strength of your sword and increase your movement speed. It'll last until you take 3 hits or until you exit the current area. Over here you'll find a health restoring fairy fountain, although the fairy will not appear if you're at full HP. Meeting with the fairy will not end the effect of our piece of power, and unlike the Guardian Acorns that we found earlier, you do not have to kill the 40 enemies without taking a hit to find a piece of power. You can definitely take some hits along the way. You will not find a piece of power if you have a Guardian Acorn active, and vice versa. Inside of this strange tree, we'll meet a witch. And if we give the witch that toadstool that we found, she'll be able to turn it into some magic powder. The witch is very generous and will give us the magic powder for free. There are other ways to get magic powder in this game, but you won't be able to find the mushroom in the forest unless you have 0 magic powders in your inventory. Something that we'll be able to use it for is to light up lanterns. We'll be doing a good amount of this in the game. Lighting lanterns is probably the most common use for the magic powder, but we can also just use it as a weapon, and if you use it on this buzz blob, he'll transform, and suddenly you'll be able to talk to him. He'll still be very dangerous to hit with your sword though, so even if you transform him, it doesn't make him safe to fight that way. We'll head back to the left, and if we use the magic powder on these moblins, they just transform into dead. And that's what's going to happen to most enemies if you use the magic powder on them. They'll turn into a little fireball and die. Unfortunately, there's a limit to how much magic powder we can use, and we're going to need it to solve some puzzles, so we shouldn't waste it all just fighting the monsters, but it is a powerful weapon. And if we use it on the raccoon, well, it has a very profound effect. He was not kidding when he said he was sensitive to powders, and it turns out that it wasn't Nightcrawler from the X-Men, it was actually Terran. It seems that he ate a strange mushroom and transformed into that raccoon. So let that be a lesson, kids. Don't eat any random mushrooms that you find in the forest, or you might transform into a trash panda. And up here, we'll find the tail key. The tail key will open the way to the next dungeon, and that's how most of the dungeons in this game work. You're going to need to find a key, and it will open the way to get inside. Now before we go on, there is a trick that you can use to get the tail key without the magic powder. You will need bombs, so you need to steal them or somehow get them from the store in town. Head up this way and make sure to kill the moblin that spawns in the upper left corner. You need to get yourself in this particular position so that you're almost at the top of the screen, and then pause to bring up the menu. I'm going to show it here again in slow motion so you can see the position. The top of Link's ears should be touching the top of the screen, and when you unpause, you're going to be holding A for bombs and up. So just be holding up and A, and if you were in the right spot, you'll see that Terran will explode right where he was standing, and you'll be able to walk right past him. This trick will only work on earlier versions of Link's Awakening DX, so if you're wondering why I'm playing with this very worn looking cartridge, it's because you need to be playing with this earlier version for some of these tricks to work. If you want to check and see if you're playing the correct version to do that trick, you just need to press the select button, and if your cursor is flashing orange and black, it's not going to work. If it just stays white and green and doesn't flash, then the trick will work, and if it's not working for you, you're probably just doing something wrong. Now that we have the tail key, we'll be able to enter the tail cave, which is the game's first dungeon, but before we go in there, we should head back to the village and stock up on supplies. If you head back to the small house where we started the game, you'll find Terran in bed asleep, possibly fighting the monsters of Subcon, and if you head over here to the right, you'll find this large matrix of bushes, and if you clear the ones in the top row, you'll find the game's first secret seashell. If you find 20 of these secret seashells, you'll be able to get the level 2 sword. Up here in the village store, we'll find the shovel, and we don't have enough money for it, so the store owner says to put it back. However, it is possible to steal items in this game. You just need to walk right in front of the store owner, wait for him to turn to face you, and then head out of the door as quickly as you can. There are consequences for this though. The next time you go into the store owner will kill you, and this will count against you if you're trying to beat the game without taking any deaths. The store owner won't sell the bow until you have the shovel, so if you steal the shovel, there's no way to get the bow without taking a death. Of course, once you've stolen the shovel, you might as well steal the bow too. Although if you're trying to beat the game without dying, you could legitimately buy the shovel and then steal the bow. You just need to remember to never go back into the store after committing the crime. Even if you don't get killed by the shop owner, there will still be consequences for stealing. The characters in the game will start calling you thief, and this is a real buzzkill when Marin is trying to get romantical with you. Come on, Marin, don't call me thief. You know I needed to take that stuff to save the world. Here on the DX version, if you're trying to complete the photo album, you will need to steal something to be able to get photo number 7, which is titled, I Know What You Did. This photo will appear in the album even if you stole something before meeting the photographer, because he is always watching. I don't want to be called thief for the rest of the game, so we're not going to be stealing anything in this run, and instead, I'll show you an easy trick that you can use to get the money to buy the items outright. Now, you could just start chopping bushes, and eventually you will find enough rupees to buy the shovel, but getting the 200 that you need could take hours, and there's a much better way. Inside this shop, if you have at least 10 rupees, you can play the Trendy game. And unlike the crane games that you'll find in real life, this one is very easy to win. Just hold down the B button until the crane is in the upper left corner, and when the item that you want to get is approaching the upper right corner, just tap the A button to drop the claw. This is not very precise, and as long as you're relatively close, you will get the item every time. The rupees on the conveyor belt are worth 30 rupees, and since it only costs 10 to play, you'll net 20 rupees every time. So we're going to wait until right now. And you could be a little bit off on that, it's fine. It's almost as if there's a magnet inside of that claw that just grabs the items. Once you've collected both rupees, we can just exit and re-enter, and they'll respawn. So this is way faster than chopping bushes looking for 1 rupee at a time. And after we've played the game for a while, we should have the 200 that we need to be able to get the shovel. And if you want to, you can also refill your magic powder here by picking it up off the conveyor belt. If you get the magic powder here early, you can skip that whole quest where you find the toadstool and take it to the witch, and just go directly to the raccoon. Lastly, before you go, make sure to pick up the Yoshi doll from the middle of the game. It is also very easy to get. As long as the claw is relatively close to the Yoshi doll, you should be able to snag it. This is the very first part of the item trading subquest, and we are going to need to do that subquest to beat the game. So make sure to get the Yoshi doll so that we can trade it for something else. Once you have the Yoshi doll and at least 200 rupees, we're going to leave the Trendy game behind for now and head back to the store, where we're not going to steal the shovel, but we are going to do a trick to get a serious discount. If you have enough money to buy something, you can take it to the store owner, choose buy, and then quickly press select start A and B all at the same time, and choose save and quit. Whenever you reload the game, you'll notice that you have the shovel, and we still have most of our money. You can even do it on less expensive items like these bombs, but it's a little bit harder to get the discount. You need to make sure to save and quit very quickly. This certainly looks like a crime, but the store owner won't kill you and no one will call you a thief. If we head over here to the right, you'll see that the path heading east is blocked by some heavy rocks that we can't pick up just yet, but if we were playing the original version, there is a way to get past. If you get to the edge of the screen, and just as you transition, press select to bring up the map, you'll jump to the other side of the screen, and you'll be able to get past many obstacles. Just try not to get stuck on the terrain. Using this trick, you can get all over the game world, and you can even head over to this spot where you can find the key that will get you into level 3 quite early. Just make sure to exit the screen and head back on before you get this key, and you'll need to have the shovel to pick it up. It looks like a leaf, but it counts as the slime key. Now this trick only works in the original black and white version, so here in Link's Awakening DX, we'll have to stay on this side of the rocks. If you have the shovel and bombs from the store, you're ready to go to the next dungeon, but before we head over there, there's a few optional things we can do in town first. Inside of this large house, we'll meet Popple, who prophesizes that he'll be lost in the hills later on. Now, if you know you're going to get lost, Popple, I'm not sure why you would go up in the hills at all, but if you go over here and talk to the missus, you can trade the Yoshi doll for the ribbon. This is the very first trade of the game, but we'll need to make many more trades just like this to be able to get to the items that we actually need. If you drop down here, you'll see that Marin is hanging out near the weathercock, and she tells us that Terran's at home taking a nap. Yeah, we knew that already. She's also dying to sing us her song, The Ballad of the Windfish, so we'll get a little sampling of that before we go, and it seems that this dog is totally absorbed in Marin's song. And we'll head down here to the left. If we go inside of this house, we can meet a woman named Madame Meow Meow, and I'm not sure if Madame Meow Meow is breeding chain chomps here, or if they just kind of live with her, but if you head into the small doghouse on the right, this tiny chain chomp really needs some new accessories, and we just got that ribbon up in Popple's house. She would happily trade some dog food for it, so we will make that deal, and before you leave the doghouse, if you use the shovel that we just bought in the lower right corner, you'll be able to find the second secret seashell. Once you have the dog food in the shell, you can leave the doghouse, and if you take the path behind Madame Meow Meow's house, you may recall from A Link to the Past that these chickens are called cuckoos, and if you beat up a cuckoo long enough, a whole storm of cuckoos will appear and attack you. Does that work here on the Game Boy? Let's find out. So we'll just mercilessly beat up this poor chicken, and yep, there are the cuckoos, although they will only attack you until you leave the screen, so not extremely dangerous. Up here we'll find a fisherman, and if you have at least 20 rupees, we'll be able to get a piece of heart here. The first thing you need to do is catch the small fish at the very top. It's only worth 5 rupees, but you're just trying to get it out of the way. Once it's gone, you'll want to play the game again, and this time hold right as you cast your bait, and quickly reel it in until it's pretty close to Link. Then you're just going to let it drop down until it gets the attention of the big fish on the far right, and when you pull it out, you'll get 20 rupees and a piece of heart. Feel free to continue fishing after you have the piece of heart, but compared to the Trendy game, this is not a very fast way to make money. We're making very good progress on our first heart container, and once you're done with the fishing game, you can head back down to the Taranbo shores, and this time we're going to head to the right towards the Tail Cave. If you equip your shield, it's a good idea to just hold the shield up at all times whenever you have it equipped. You can still attack with the sword, and it will protect you from anything that hits you in the front. Make your way around the corner and head down this way. If we had the Pegasus boots, you'd be able to get a secret seashell there. And over here at the keyhole, we can use the tail key to unlock the entrance to the first dungeon. Once we're inside, you'll have to go either left or right. I recommend going to the left first, and if you knock these hard hat beetles into the pit, you'll be able to get a small key. If you continue all the way over to the left, you'll be able to find a chest that contains the compass, but watch out for the green Zol enemies that will pop up when you get too close. As usual, the compass will reveal the location of all of the treasure chests in the dungeon, and it will also tell you where to find the dungeon boss. In Link's Awakening, once you have the compass, if you enter a room with a key, you'll hear a tone. We know from that sound that there's a key hidden in this room, and to find it, you just need to press this switch, which will reveal a hidden chest. Once you have the key, we're going to head over here to the right. In this room, if you clear all of the enemies, we'll find another hidden chest, but this one does not contain a key. Instead, it contains the dungeon map. You'll notice at the top of the screen that there's a strange door that has the silhouette of a person on it. That is a one-way door, so you'll be able to go through there, but you won't be able to go back the same way. Looking at the map, we'll notice that it has the shape of a tadpole. Yeah, we'll go with that, tadpole. And when you enter this room, if you head up here, you'll see a strange array of enemies that have the suits from a deck of cards flashing on their chests. You need to stop all three on the same suit to defeat them, and if you stop them on diamonds, you'll find rupees, and if you stop them on hearts, you'll find small hearts. Regardless of how you defeat them, whenever they're gone, a hidden chest will be revealed, and inside, you'll find the stone beak, which we can use to get tips from the owl statues in the wall. The compass is telling us that this chest contains a small key, so we definitely want to open that up. And up here we'll see another chest that apparently contains a key, but we can't reach that one just yet. If you kill the enemy in this room, we'll get a chest that contains 20 rupees. Not the greatest reward, but we're still trying to get enough money to buy the bow, so it's certainly a welcome thing to find. If you head down here, this room is a dead end. You don't have to go in here, and if you do go in this room, you'll need to clear the enemies to get back out. Up in this room, you may have noticed some cracks on the wall. If you drop a bomb in front of those cracks, we'll find a hidden room that contains a secret seashell. The vast majority of secret seashells are not hidden in dungeons and are out there in the overworld, but this one is an exception. Once you have that shell, make your way up to this room, and if you push this block upwards, you'll be able to block that trap so that it won't be able to slide over and hit you. This room is very easy to navigate. Just go all the way around the side and then watch out for the spark enemy as you cut down here to the bottom. This owl statue tells us that to open a door we may need to move a stone block, and that is how we'll open the door that takes us to the left. These spiked beetles look like they may have been dropped by Lakitu, but he doesn't appear in this game. You'll need to bump them with your shield to flip them over, and then either 2 simple strikes or 1 big charged strike with your sword will take them out. Down the stairs, the game briefly switches to a side-scrolling perspective, and if you land on top of these Goomba enemies, they will always drop a heart, but if you hit them with your sword, they'll have a chance to drop a rupee instead. Once you get through that area, make sure to hold out your shield as you pass those traps, and when you open up this chest, you'll find the Rock's Feather. The feather is one of my favorite items in any Zelda game because it allows Link to jump. I like to set the feather on A with the sword on B, that feels very natural. And once you have the feather, it's very easy to stomp on Goombas to get hearts. So whenever you see Goombas, that is a great opportunity for you to refill your health. With the feather, you'll be able to jump over gaps that are 1 space wide, sort of like in Star Tropics, although you can also jump diagonally, so it's a bit more like Star Tropics 2. There's a trick you can do in the next room to save a key. First take care of this enemy, then extend your sword facing upwards, go down and press up against the corner of the wall, jump over this gap, and then hold down, jump, and then hold up after you've jumped. If you do it correctly, you'll hop right over the key block, and you'll be able to come over here and get the Nightmares key. If you didn't actually have a key here, you would need to save and quit to go back to the entrance of the dungeon, but that is a way that you can skip getting one of the keys here in the Tail Cave. With the Nightmare key in our pocket, we can head over here to the right, and now that we have the feather, we can jump over that gap, and on the other side, we'll find the game's first mini-boss, Rolling Bones. You want to charge up your sword and jump over the rolling pin, and you want to try to attack this boss from above. That's the easiest way to score hits on him. He's always going to go to the other side of the screen after he rolls the rolling pin, so you have a good idea of what he's going to do. If you already have the bow and arrows, this boss is even easier. Just go down to the bottom of the screen, jump over the rolling pin, aim upwards, and hit the boss with 2 arrows. It's really that simple. After Rolling Bones is defeated, it will unlock this teleporter that can take you back to the dungeon's entrance, but we're very close to the boss already, so just head up this way. Don't get hit by the traps, and you'll notice if you go down this stairway that there's a strange area down here with skeletons suspended by chains. Very creepy. You'll see what that room is for here in a moment. Using the Nightmares key, we'll be able to enter the boss's room, and if you fall off the edge here, that's right, you'll end up in the room with the skeletons, and you'll have to start the fight over again. This boss is called Moldorm, and the best way to defeat him is to charge up your sword and try to get one good hit on his tail section, then stay at the top of the screen, face downward, and just start mashing the attack button. Hopefully you won't get knocked off the edge, but most of the time that strategy will work, and you'll be able to grab yourself a heart container, and then head up into this room, where you'll find the first siren instrument, the Full Moon Cello. As the Full Moon Cello plays its piece, the Tail Cave fades away. But before we leave, there's one more trick I wanted to show you, and it only works in the original version. So if you drop off the side in the boss's room and you hold up plus your feather, you'll come to this glitched area. You need to be careful in here because there's some hidden water that you can fall into, but if you get down onto this line and just start walking to the right, keep making your way to the right, and it will seem like these rooms are just repeating over and over again, but this is going somewhere. Now, this is not the only place that you can go using this glitch. You can actually access a whole bunch of different locations, but this is a very easy trick that you can do using this, so just keep going to the right until you get to this room. This room contains some more water traps, but if you can hop across them, you'll be able to pick up the Full Moon Cello without defeating the boss. And the music notes that it plays are Mamu the Frog. Very strange. Now, of course, if you use this trick, you won't get the heart container here, so it's probably not worth doing, but it is something fun to try. So, what is this instrument we found, and does Link even know how to play the cello? For more information on that, our friend the owl shows up to enlighten us. It seems that the Full Moon Cello is part of a set of 8 instruments, and if we can find them all, we'll be able to wake the windfish. So we need to find 8 magical objects, eh? Yep, we're definitely playing a Zelda game. Use your feather to hop over those pits and make your way to the left. We could go back to the village now and head towards the swamp, but first we're going to take a detour down here to the Taranbo shores because we got that can of dog food and there's a hungry alligator down here that would really like it. Once you get into Sail's House of Bananas, he will practically demand that you give him the dog food, and of course you should, because he'll trade you some bananas. And yeah, he eats it can and all. Oof. I hope it was worth it, Sail. The bananas are probably the most important item in the item trading quest. You don't strictly need the magnifying glass to beat the game. That's what you get at the very end of the item trading quest. But you will need the bananas to be able to make a bridge that will take you into the castle. We're not going to the castle right at this second, but we will be going there later, so we will need those bananas to get in. For now, we're going to head back to the village, and because we completed the tail cave, an event has triggered. It seems that moblins attacked the village, and they kidnapped BowWow, the large chain chomp that lived outside of Madame Meow Meow's house. These moblins must have some serious cojones to kidnap a monster like that. It turns out that we're going to need BowWow to get into the next dungeon, so rescuing him is our next quest. This part is optional, but if you want to stop by Madame Meow Meow's house, you can see that she is very distraught, and you can hardly blame her. Who would expect BowWow to be kidnapped? Yeah, we definitely have to rescue him. We'll need to cut through the mysterious forest to get to the Moblin Stronghold, but now that we have the feather, it'll be a little bit easier to navigate. There's still some things here in the forest that we won't be able to get until we have the power bracelet, but for now, just make your way up here, jump over this gap to the right, and walk around those heavy rocks. If you follow the path over here to the right, we'll emerge from the forest on the other side, right next to an area where we can find our third piece of heart. We'll only need one more piece of heart to get a full container. If we hop up here, we'll be able to walk around the swamp, and if we talk to this owl statue, it tells us that the windfish is neither wind nor fish. So I guess that's good information. And if we head over here to the right, we'll find a feature that you will only see in the DX version of the game. This purple mouse is the photographer, and he just loves taking pictures. If you tell him that it's okay to take your picture, he'll ask you to stand in the back of the room, and then he'll snap the first picture for your album. Once he starts up the album, you'll be able to come back here at any time to view the pictures, and if you happen to have the Game Boy printer peripheral, you can even print them out. You'll have to go a little bit out of your way to find all of the pictures, but I will show you where to find all 12 in this guide. But there's actually 13 pictures. That's right. If you tell the photographer no at the very beginning, and you'll need to tell him no several times because he does not take no for an answer. He'll just keep pushing you backwards, but just keep telling him no. Eventually, he'll push you all the way to the back of the room, and then he'll just take the picture anyways, but this time the picture will be a little bit different. This picture is called Game Over, although it's not really a game over at all. Feel free to take a look at this slightly different picture in the album. You'll also notice if you've stolen anything in the game that the photographer is one of the characters that will call you thief, and the thief picture will automatically be in the album. But right now we wanted to see the Game Over picture, and it will be under number 1. It looks like this. You can only have one or the other picture in your album. The photographer will not take your picture in his studio if you have BowWow with you, so that's why we wanted to visit with him first, but now we can get back to the case of the missing chain chomp. The cave that we're looking for is straight down from here, so just make your way down, drop off the ledge, and head on inside. As soon as you get inside, you want to charge up your sword, walk past the first moblin, and then let him have it with the spin attack as he follows you. Once you get into the next room, use a few more spin attacks to take out these moblins, and watch out for the arrows that they'll shoot at you. Once you get into this room, we're going to fight a boss. This boss is actually pretty easy. You want to charge up your sword again, lure him to the top of the screen, and get him to charge against the side. As soon as he hits the wall, hit him with your charge attack, and then try to hit him with a couple more of your regular attacks. It's possible to get enough hits on him to finish him off in 2 cycles, but it usually takes about 3 to defeat this guy. Once the boss's corpse explodes, the door on the right side will open, and inside we'll find BowWow. What a fearsome beast! Once you've rescued BowWow, you'll be able to unlock the path to level 2, the Bottle Grotto, but before we do that, and this part is totally optional, we're going to head back to the village to let Madame Meow Meow know that everything is okay. If you head over here to the right, our friend the owl will remind us that the next instrument is in the swamp, and the swamp is right over here. Now you can't get into the swamp from that screen, you'll want to access it from the left side, but for now we're going to cut through the mysterious forest and head back to the village. Something that you'll notice right away is that BowWow will attack enemies for you, and he is quite good at it. So that's pretty convenient. And we'll just follow the path back to the village, letting BowWow take out any enemies that get in our way. Now, we're not going to the village just to visit with Madame Meow Meow, although that's what we're going to do first, and she is very happy that we rescued BowWow, but she insists that we take him on a walk, and we don't really have a choice, so whenever we exit, we'll still have BowWow with us. Which is good because we're going to need him. Something else that we're going to need is the bow. Unfortunately, the bow costs 980 rupees, which is quite a bit, and the easiest way to get that much money at this point in the game is to play the Trendy game. We don't strictly need the bow for level 2, but it's going to make it a lot easier, so I do recommend that we pick it up before heading to the next dungeon. However, if you can hold out and wait until after completing level 2, I am going to show you an even better money-making trick that will allow you to get the 980 rupees even faster. So if you're confident in your ability to finish level 2 the Bottle Grotto without the bow, then feel free to skip it for now. Still, the Trendy game is very easy to win, and we are going to be using the bow in the next dungeon, so I do recommend that you get it now. The most rupees you can hold at any one time is 999, and there it is. We now have maximum money. Don't forget about the trick to get a discount on the bow. Say that you're going to buy it and then immediately save and quit. The faster you save and quit, the less money you'll actually spend. And it looks like we barely spent any money at all, but you can see that we now have the bow, and we're not considered a thief, at least not as far as the game is concerned. You'll also want to make sure that you have a decent supply of bombs. We haven't really been using too many bombs, but if you have, make sure to pick up a few more when you're at the store. To get to the dungeon, we're going to go up here and go past the room where the raccoon was. So we'll head up here, here's where the raccoon was, and up here we're going to go to the left. So make a left from the chest where the tail key was, and we'll take a quick detour into this house, where we'll find Mr. Wright, whom you may recognize if you've ever played SimCity. In this game, the mayor of SimCity is a hopeless romantic that keeps writing letters, but never gets one in return. Eventually, we'll get a letter from Mr. Wright, but for now, we're going to head to the right and make our way into the swamp. This sign clearly says to keep out, except for BowWow, and that's because BowWow can eat these white lilies that block our way. He can even eat the large flowers. So those ones will spit fire at you, they're kinda dangerous, and you'll want to head down here if you'd like to find a treasure chest, but this one only contains rupees, which are not super useful right now. Once you have a pocket full of money, make your way to the top and head to the right, and this is the entrance to the dungeon. BowWow will clear out the flowers that are in the way, and we found a guardian acorn, but unfortunately as soon as we go into the dungeon, its effect will end. Before we get into the bottle grotto, it's possible to get another piece of heart container by using the same trick we used in the last dungeon to jump over that key block. So extend your sword facing the top of the room, clip into the wall at the bottom by pressing up against the corner, hold down, jump, and then hold up after you jump, and you'll hop right over the rock where you'll be able to pick up the last piece you need to make a full heart container. Alright, let's get back to level 2. Hopefully you have a decent supply of magic powder, because you're going to need to use it to light up the lamps in the center of this room, and once you do, the door will open, and you'll be able to head over to the right. Take out the 2 Stalfos enemies in this room, and you'll find a small key, and then we can head back through the previous room, and unlock the door on the left side. Watch out for traps as you enter this room, and although there are a few lamps, you don't need to light them up for any particular reason. So save your magic powder and head up here. In this room you also don't need to light the lamps, but you do need to take out that enemy to be able to open the door. Inside the chest you'll find the stone beak, but if you were playing the original black and white version, you would find the map instead. And you would find the stone tablet where we'll find the map in this game. So sometimes the treasure chests are flip-flopped a bit. Keep that in mind if you're playing the older version. Now that we have the stone beak, we'll be able to get a clue in this room, and it says to tap the blue crystal. Yeah, we probably could have figured that out on our own, and if you head down into this lower room, tap the crystal, and then you'll be able to open the chest to get a small key. Once we have the key, we need to go back the way that we came, but we need to hit the switch first to get through this room. If you head over to the right, you'll find a strange room containing 2 Shy Guy enemies, but for now we're going to head back to the left. Head down here and use the key that we found, and in this room there's a single Shy Guy. The easiest way to deal with him is to charge up your sword and then hit him when you get close with a full spin attack. That will give us the compass. The compass, of course, is going to be very handy to make sure that we find all of the treasure chests in the dungeon, and also to let us know where the keys are. Once you have the compass, we'll go back the way that we came, and we need to go across this room. Use your Rock's Feather to hop across the gaps, and hit the switch on the right side, which will reveal a chest that contains a small key. There's a switch in this room, but you should just ignore it and keep it in the same position that it was in when we got here. Head up into this room that we saw from the other side before, and take out the 2 Shy Guys with a single spin attack. Then head back through this room, flip the switch, and head up and around to the right to collect the key. So we'll pick up the key for defeating the Shy Guys on the other side, and then we'll head back around again. This time we're going to go through the room that had the 2 Shy Guys in it, and head over to the right where we'll find 2 spined beetles, and you remember what to do about them. Use your shield to flip them over, and then either give them 2 basic attacks or 1 fully charged spin attack. Use your key to go through this door, and in this room we get another clue. Make every design the same. They want us to push these 2 purple blocks towards the center, and when you do that, a stairway will appear. Down the stairs we'll find another side-scrolling area. It's not that hard to drop from the ladder onto the moving platform, but you'll need to equip your feather to be able to jump across to the left. Head up the ladder over here, and jump across to the middle where you'll be able to find a heart, and then we'll go through the one-way door where we'll fight a mini-boss. This is one of the reasons why I recommended that we get the bow. It only takes 2 arrows to defeat Hinox, and he'll never have a chance to get close enough to you to throw you around. If you don't have the bow, you'll want to charge up your sword, hit him with a full-powered attack and then back off so you don't get grabbed. Either way, whenever he's defeated, make your way to the right, and in this room, we'll get another clue from an owl statue. First, defeat the imprisoned Pole's Voice, last, Stalfos. That is a very important clue that we're going to use later to get the Nightmare's Key. This room contains an obnoxious enemy called a vacuum mouth that whenever it activates, it will pull everything in the room towards it. So be careful about the vacuum mouth and try to get the treasure chest that will contain the map, or if you're playing the old black and white version, it'll be the stone fragment. In this room, you'll find a chest that contains some rupees, and you'll also find a refill for your magic powder. It's as if you might need it in the next room. Although there's a trick to this room, so you don't need the magic powder at all. If you jump to the right and attack the ghosts at the very last second, they'll flip over to the other side of the room and disappear. Now, the normal way that you would get through this room is to use at least one magic powder on a lamp, which will make the ghosts fly away. Either way, a chest will be revealed, and inside it is the Power Bracelet. We've been looking for this thing. In Link's Awakening, you have to actually equip the Power Bracelet to be able to lift up objects, which is a little bit tedious, but that's just the way it works in this game. As you make your way to the right, you'll need to hit the switch several times to get over to where the chest is, and this is very good design that lets you know that you can actually walk on top of the posts whenever you hit the switch. We'll be doing a lot of walking on posts to solve some of the more advanced puzzles in the later dungeons. Make sure to hit this switch and then head down into this room, where you'll hear the tone that indicates there's a key here. To get that key, it's very important that you kill the Pole's Voice enemy first, followed by the bat, and then you need to kill the Stalfos last. If you kill the enemies in any other order, the chest will not appear and you won't get the Nightmare's Key. Once you have it, head up the stairs. There are some piranha plants in the side-scrolling segment this time, and you can kill them with your sword or just try to avoid them. Once again, you'll find Goombas, so if you need to restore some of your hearts, don't forget that you can jump on Goombas to get some health back. This passage takes us back to this room near where we fought the Hinox. If we head through the teleporter, you may recall that there was this chest at the entrance, and inside it we'll find 50 rupees. Very nice. Once we've collected those rupees, we'll go back through the teleporter, and we'll head back through the passage that we came in. Of course, collecting that chest is totally optional, so if you don't care about collecting all of the treasure chests in all of the dungeons, you can feel free to just skip over that one. Head back to the right, avoid the piranha plant and jump across, and then go down the ladder. The way we actually need to go is through the locked door on the right side of this room, so head through there and then equip your power bracelet so that you can pick up the pots in this room, and we can wield them as a weapon against the Pole's Voice and the gels in this room, and you'll need to clear all of them to make the stairs appear. Once you're inside, head down on this lift. You can pick up the pots in this room, and we'll need to pick one up to be able to make this lift drop. We're just not heavy enough without it. So pick up the pot, stand on the lift, and it will drop out from under you, and we'll be up in this room where we'll enter the boss's chamber. The genie is one of the more difficult bosses in the game, and as soon as the fight begins, you want to head to the upper left corner, because as soon as he appears, he's going to start throwing fireballs at you. He's going to throw 8 of them, and if you're in this corner, the first 4 will go over your head, and then you just need to move with the genie to avoid the last 4. You want to hit the bottle with your sword and then pick it up with the power bracelet and give it a good toss. If you can toss it while you're clipped into the upper left wall, you can destroy the bottle in a single toss. If you don't destroy it in a single toss, you'll need to avoid the fireballs again and then throw the bottle 2 more times. Once the bottle is gone, equip the bow and the bombs at the same time and press both buttons simultaneously to fire an arrow bomb. It only takes 2 arrow bombs to finish off the genie and open up the way to the conch horn. That's 2 instruments down, 6 to go. As the conch horn plays its tune and the dungeon fades out to white, a voice is heard, telling us where we need to go next. Prairie. The prairie is waiting. If you go directly to the right after you come out of the dungeon, you can actually slip out behind the white swamp lilies before BowWow eats them. Now that voice told us we need to go to the prairie, but before we do that, let's take BowWow for a walk. The power bracelet opens up a lot of new paths for us to explore, and if we head into this house, we can meet up with Crazy Tracy, who will sell us her special medicine. Crazy Tracy is a little bit weird, and she will either charge you 42 or 28 rupees for the medicine. It's kinda random, and if you insist on only paying 28 rupees, you can just keep leaving and re-entering her building until she charges you the right amount. Crazy Tracy's medicine will refill your hearts if you ever run out of health, so that's a very good way to keep yourself from dying, especially if you're trying to get the best ending. When BowWow is with you, he won't just attack enemies. Sometimes he'll tell you where to dig with your shovel, and if you dig here, you'll find a secret seashell. Another optional thing you can do in this area is use your magic powder on this lonely grave. It'll give you a funny message saying that it'll have to curse you if you do that again. I don't really want to be cursed, so we'll leave the spirits alone, and if we head over here to the right, we can pick up this rock with our power bracelet and enter this hidden passage. Once you get inside, wait over here on the left and BowWow can actually kill those hard-shelled beetles that you can usually only knock into pits. Once you get over here, you want to do a diagonal jump up to this spot, push the rock, and then do a diagonal jump down to the bottom. You're supposed to use the hook shot there to get across, but it's actually not that difficult to do without it. If you didn't use the super jump to collect the piece of heart in the mysterious forest, that piece should be enough to get you a full heart container. And from there, we'll emerge in the cemetery, and if you head down here, we can lift up this rock, and this is going to take us back down near Mabe Village. Now that we've seen this warp hole, we'll be able to go back there later, but it's the only warp hole that we've seen right now, so it won't be able to take us very many places. And we'll head back to the left, which will bring us back to the village, and we'll finally be able to return BowWow to his rightful home. Make sure that you don't want to use BowWow for anything else, and then head inside Madame Meow Meow's house to finally get your reward. How can I ever repay you? I know, smooch. The game says that's lucky, but kisses don't buy bombs and arrows, so it would have been nice to be paid in cash. As you exit Madame Meow Meow's house, the photographer will stop you to take a picture. Before this, BowWow has been fairly calm, but now he seems extremely agitated. I'm not sure why. Maybe he just doesn't like the paparazzi. In any case, after you take the photo, you won't have BowWow with you anymore, and we'll make our way to the mysterious forest. Now that we have the power bracelet, there's some things that we need to find here in the forest. If we pick up this rock, we'll be able to get the treasure chest behind it, and this one contains a secret seashell, bringing our total to 5. Now this is very important. Whenever you have exactly 5 secret seashells, you need to go to Seashell Mansion and you'll get a free bonus. But you won't get it if you have 6 secret seashells, so you need to make sure that you do it before you collect another. If you didn't get the piece of heart in this cave before, now is the time. Using the power bracelet, you'll be able to lift up those green skulls and toss them out of the way. Then you'll be able to easily collect the piece of heart. That is certainly the intended way to get that item. That is certainly not the last thing that we need to find here in the mysterious forest. Now you may be thinking of that cave that's blocked with 3 rocks in front of it, but we're not actually going to go in there right now. So we're going to walk right by that cave, and we want to pick up this rock over here, which has a hidden stairway beneath it. Down here you'll find the hidden altar of the Mad Batter. You may remember him from A Link to the Past. Use a little bit of magic powder on his altar, and when he wakes up, he'll grant you the ability to hold more magic powder, bombs, or arrows. I recommend that you get bombs the first time, so make sure to tell him no when he asks if you want more magic powder, and then say yes when he asks about bombs. If you find all 3 Mad Batter locations, you'll be able to increase your supply of arrows, bombs, and magic powder, but you won't be able to find the other 2 altars until later, and you're going to get a lot more use out of the bombs right now. From here, we're going to make our way to the special colored dungeon. If you're playing on the original monochromatic version, you won't find the colored dungeon in there, and although you can play Link's Awakening DX on a black and white Game Boy, it'll be difficult to get through the colored dungeon unless you're playing on something with a color screen. The colored dungeon is located in the lower right corner of the cemetery. There are 5 tombstones here, and you need to push them in the correct direction in the correct order. So the one in the lower right needs to be pushed first and needs to be pushed to down. In the lower left, you need to push it to the left. Upper left, you need to push up. Upper middle needs to be pressed to the right. And upper right needs to be pushed up. If you do everything correctly, you'll open a hidden passage that leads down here to the colored dungeon. You will not be able to enter the colored dungeon until you have the power bracelet, and you won't be able to get in if BowWow is with you, so you'll need to finish level 2 so you can drop him off at Madame Meow Meow's house. Answer the questions that the skeletons ask you. They just want to make sure that you can see the colors. It's not exactly a riddle. Clear the enemies in the first room, and in here you want to hit the pod in the upper left, and then hit the one in the lower right. This will change all of their colors to blue, and then you'll find a chest containing the compass. Also in this room, if you use a bomb at the bottom, you'll find a secret treasure room. Not only is this an awesome treasure room, this is the best money-making trick in the entire game. Collect the 140 rupees that you find in this room, and then save and quit the game. Then you need to turn your Game Boy all the way off and turn it back on again. Reload your game, and when you come back into the dungeon, you'll notice that the rupees will have respawned. You need to make sure that you turn the game all the way off. Just resetting will not work. That's because the game stores whether or not you collected those rupees in RAM, and when you turn the game off, that RAM information is lost. If you don't have the bow yet, collect a bunch of rupees in that room and go back to town and buy it. We are definitely going to be using it here. We don't have the key that we need in this room, so make your way to the right, And to defeat these enemies, you want to slash them with your sword first, then pick up the stunned enemy and toss it into the hole that matches its color. If you stand at the edge of the purple blocks, it should give you just the right distance to toss it into the hole. When both enemies are defeated, you'll find the stone beak for this dungeon. Charge up your sword and slash at the enemies as they come off of their colored tiles to attack you in this room. In the upper right corner, you'll find some more magic powder, and you may need it against one of the bosses that we're going to fight soon. This room contains the key that we've been looking for, so clear out the enemies, open up the chest, and then head through the one-way door that conveniently leads back to the room where we needed it. The stone Hinox is a bit more powerful than the Hinox we fought in the previous dungeon, but if we equip arrows and bombs and fire them at the same time, it only takes 2 arrow bombs to take this guy out and completely demolish him. So yeah, that boss was easy. Whenever he's defeated, he'll leave behind a fairy so you can refill your health and make your way to the left. Many of the rooms in this dungeon contain these floor tiles that change color when you jump on them. If they're green, they'll turn to yellow, and if they're yellow, they'll turn to red, and the red ones turn into pits. Keep that in mind as you cross them, and in this room you want to take out all of the enemies, many of them are kind of hidden, and you'll find the map. So that'll make it a little bit easier to navigate, and then we can head over here to the right. This room is very easy if you know what you're doing. Attack the enemies with your sword, and then either just bump them into the appropriate colored hole, or stand clear across the room and throw them in. If you're all the way across on the other side, you'll always make the toss. Once all 4 of them are defeated, a small key will spawn, and then we can head back the way that we came. The Nightmare Key is located in the upper right corner of the map, so that's where we're going to go now. Head through this room and go straight across this one. In this room, we need to turn all of these blue, so hit the one in the upper left corner, then the one in the lower right corner, then hit the one in the upper left corner again. Once you do that, you'll get a small key, and if you head over into this room, you don't need to kill these enemies, just go through the door at the top. This boss, the giant buzz blob, is vulnerable to magic powder. Hit him with the powder to turn him into the blob form, and then hit him with the powder again. This time you want to keep hitting him with it at a slow but steady pace, and you should be able to score multiple hits and kill this boss quite quickly. Over here in this room, just push these blocks aside, and you'll be able to get to the chest that contains the Nightmare's Key. If you take a look at your map now, you'll notice that we haven't explored the rooms in the upper left corner of the dungeon. So now that we have the Nightmare's Key, that's where we need to go. We'll head back through these rooms that we've been through before, go down across this one, and back to the left. That will take us to this room, and up into the stone Hinox's chamber, where we can continue to the left, and we'll go to a new room over here that we haven't been to yet. Hit the 4 red pods on the sides, and that's all you need to do to solve that puzzle. It's really that easy. We're almost to the boss now, so if you need to refill your health, there's a fairy hidden underneath the jar in the upper right corner of this room. Then head over to the left, we can hit this switch, and then walk up to the boss's door. This boss, the hard-hit beetle, is not actually that hard to hit, but if you don't strike him fast enough, he will regenerate health. I recommend that you use the bow and shoot at him from across the room. You want to hit the large round part on the top of the boss. Whenever he turns red, you only need to hit him one more time to finish him off. It's not actually that hard to defeat this guy, and once he's defeated, you'll be able to finally meet the Fairy Queen. Just like Morpheus, the Fairy Queen will ask us to choose between red or blue. If you choose red, that will increase your offense, and if you choose blue, it will increase your defense. The choice is not permanent. You can come back here and choose blue if you've already chosen red and vice versa. Let's take a look at red first. Red increases the power of the sword, and it's sort of like having a piece of power all the time, without the increase in movement speed. While it is awesome to be able to hit the enemies so hard that they go flying with every strike, we're going to get a great sword upgrade when we find enough of those secret seashells, so I actually think that the blue upgrade is the better of the two. So we're going to head back into the color dungeon and choose the blue tunic, which is a lot like having a guardian acorn equipped all the time. So you're going to take half damage from enemies, and that is quite awesome. So we'll switch over to the blue tunic, and once we find enough of those secret seashells, we'll be able to have the increased benefits of a better sword and better armor from the power of color. As far as I know, there is no way to go back to your normal green clothes, so if you don't want to be red or blue Link, don't talk to the Fairy Queen at the end of the color dungeon. Underneath this tombstone is the passage where we found that heart piece earlier, and now that we've completed the color dungeon, we can get back to our normal quest, and we're going to head to the Ukuku Prairie, where we'll find the next dungeon. Getting the key to level 3 will take us on a quest through Canalet Castle in the center of the map, so that's where we're headed to now. If you need to refill your health, you can place a bomb on this conspicuously cracked wall near the beehive, and inside you'll find a fairy fountain. Once your health is refilled, you can exit the cave, and make a mental note of where this beehive is, because we're going to need to come back here later for the item trading quest. For now, just make your way down, and if you use a bomb on this large rock formation, you can open up a shortcut. You can also use bombs to defeat these pincer enemies, and sometimes it looks like they fell into the hole that they emerged from. Weird. Because this is our first time in the Ukuku Prairie, I'm going to take the long way around, but feel free to take that shortcut, it'll certainly save you a good bit of time. The longer path does have some interesting sights to see, but nothing that we really need to collect. So we're going to head down this way, and that's the third dungeon right there, but we don't have the key for it just yet. That's the signpost maze, and we're not quite ready for it yet either. So make your way down into this small house. This is Richard's villa. You may not recognize him, but this character, Richard, is another cameo, but from a Japanese-only Game Boy game called The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, which is why there's a bunch of frogs hopping around in this room. He asks us to find his golden leaf, and after we've already agreed, he tells us that we need to find 5 of them. Ugh, alright, I guess so, Richard. If you head up here, you can see a very nice chest, but that's about all there is here in Richard's villa. It is not required that you meet with Richard before finding the leaves, so feel free to skip over that little visit if you already know what you're doing. Follow the signs or simply follow the path to Canalet Castle. It's fairly straightforward. So we're going to follow the brown dirt path, which leads up here, and if you head to the left, this is where the shortcut was. So you can see where that shortcut connects, and this sign tells us to go right. It doesn't mean for us to go into the tree, instead just follow the path as we were before. The path actually forks here, and we can go up to the castle, and we'll stop up here for a photo opportunity with Richard. We can't get into the castle right now because the gate is closed, but once we get inside, we'll be able to flip a switch to open the gate. However, once the gate has been opened, you will no longer be able to get this picture taken, so make sure to do this photo now before you go into the castle. Richard's not afraid, he just decided to wait at home. Yeah, okay, buddy. From here, we're not going to go into the castle just yet. Instead, follow the path downward. We need to make a quick stop over at Seashell Mansion. So I'd mentioned Seashell Mansion before, and this is it. Because we have exactly 5 seashells right now, we're going to get a bonus here. So if you had 4 shells, 6 shells, 7 shells, no bonus, but if you have exactly 5, you will find the 6th secret seashell. If you missed this shell, don't freak out. There are 26 secret seashells hidden in the game, and you only need to find 20 of them. The 7th is over here to the right of the mansion, and once you have it, drop down and then walk up and around, which will put us on the path that leads to the castle. Before we can get in, we need to give this monkey named Kiki some bananas. You may recall that there was a monkey named Kiki in A Link to the Past as well. Is this the same monkey? Maybe. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in Koholint Island. Kiki is a talking monkey that can summon clones of herself, so I think anything is possible. And after the bridge is built, one of the monkeys will leave behind a stick, which is the next item that we need for the item trading quest. The bridge is a bit of a side effect, but a very helpful one. Up here, this area seems to be a dead end, until you cut down this conspicuous bush that has a hidden passage beneath it. Inside the passage are some Goombas, so you can exploit them for some hearts if you need your health, and make sure to jump over the spikes to make your way to the other side. Once you get in here, we'll head over to the right, and the castle is fairly well guarded. You'll want to charge up your sword and hit this enemy as soon as he pops out of his hole. This guy's known as a Mad Bomber, and if you can hit him with 2 fully powered swings, you'll be able to get your first gold leaf. We're going to need to find 4 more of those. Over here is the front entrance of the castle, but before we go inside, make your way over to the left, where you'll find this room that has a strange crow atop a tree. The crow doesn't want to get off of its perch, but if you pick up a rock with the power bracelet and throw it in its direction, it'll have to move. Once you defeat the crow, you'll get your second gold leaf. If you walk up and around, you'll see that the path connects back to where we entered the castle grounds, so for now we're going to head back down and go into the entrance. Once you get inside, you're going to head to the left, and we need to clear this next room, so it's a good idea to charge up your sword before you go in there. Take out the 2 soldiers and the Zol, and you'll find another gold leaf. The path through the castle is straightforward, so just head up and to the right. You don't need to clear these enemies. And if you press that switch over in the corner, that's going to open the castle gate. So that'll make it a lot easier to get in and out of here from now on. Once the gate is down, you'll want to make your way up and to the left, where we'll take the stairs. When you get to the top, you're going to find a soldier that's been plastered into the wall. You can release him with a bomb, and when he's defeated, you'll find a golden leaf. There's another one on the right side, but he does not have a leaf. I don't know who would volunteer for that job, but it's certainly an interesting approach to security. As you make your way around, you can probably guess that the 5th and final leaf is in that small room with the Mace Knight, so that's where we're going to go next. If you want to check out the castle roof, you can, but there's not much to see up here, so head on inside. To get through this doorway, you have to pick up one of the clay pots in the room and throw it at the door. That's actually the way you'll open a lot of doors in this game. You can find a bomb on the left and a heart on the right if you need it, and you're going to want to equip your arrow bombs to fight the Mace Knight. It'll take 2 arrow bombs to finish him off, and the 5th and final leaf will be yours. And that's it. Now we can go back to Richard and he'll open up the way to get the slime key. Before we leave, if you need more bombs, you can just enter and exit this room as many times as you need to, and continue to get the bombs and the hearts hidden inside of these pots. So if you need a little bit of a refill, go ahead and take the time to collect those bombs. But once you're done, we're going to go back the way that we came. This whole Golden Leaf quest feels like a holdover from when the game was being designed as A Link to the Past on the Game Boy. Canalet Castle even looks a lot like Hyrule Castle on the inside. Well, in any case, make your way out the front door, and this time you'll find that the castle gate is opened because we flipped that switch inside. As you make your way across the drawbridge, if you head over to the left, you'll see a stairway guarded by a series of 5 pits. We'll need to have the Flying Rooster to get across there, so we won't be coming back to that area until later. For now, we're going to follow the path back to Richard's Villa. If you head to the left here, that's where level 3 is, so we'll be heading back this way in a few moments once we get the key. Make your way to the left and head on into Richard's Villa. He'll be very happy to have his golden leaves back, although I don't see how that really helps him out. He's still exiled from the castle. In any case, he'll allow you to push this box, revealing a hidden stairway. And our reward? Well, if we head over here to the left, we'll be able to collect it. It's a secret seashell. We were looking for the key to level 3. Well, the key to level 3 is a little bit more difficult to get. We have to head up here to find it. Up here at the top of the cave, you'll see a green skull over on the right side that could have something hidden underneath it. Yeah, an enemy. If you're able to pick up the skull, you can throw it at the enemy, and it will often yield a fairy, but not all the time. You can just ignore this corner of the cave and make your way outside. This is the bush maze. Underneath some of these bushes are pits, and you're supposed to follow this path all around to get to the end. But it's much easier than that. Do a big sword swing here to clear a bunch of bushes, and then we're going to do a diagonal jump up and to the right. Now we're going to jump up and attack at the same time so that we clear the bush before we land, and then we'll just clear a few more bushes to find this area where the slime key is buried. So make sure you have your shovel, dig up the slime key, and it will be yours. Well, that was easy. We're going to take a similar path to get back into the cave. So head over here, cut down and to the right. We're going to jump across and cut in midair, so get ready to jump and cut. Make sure that you have your feather on. And from here, we just need to clear that bush and then diagonal jump, and we'll be able to easily get back to the cave. So just cut to the left and enter the cave. From here, we're going to return to Richard's Villa and exit through the front door. Once we get out there, we simply have to make our way back to level 3 and unlock the door. Normally, you would need to go up to the left and unlock the door from the front side, and then go all the way back to the right to get into the dungeon. But we're not going to do that. There's a much easier way. So just head up here. We're going to go around the trees and to the left, and then down, and we'll jump across. And over here, we're going to go up for a moment, and we'll find a quick secret seashell before we go into the dungeon. So in the middle of those grasses is a conspicuous empty space, and that's a good spot to dig, where we will find secret seashell number 9. When we have exactly 10 secret seashells, we need to go back to the mansion again to get another free one, so keep that in mind. And we're going to head down here, and we need to unlock the door, but you just have to be facing upward. So extend your sword facing up, and go down towards where the keyhole is, and you'll be able to open the dungeon from this side. Now, before we jump into level 3, I want to show you a way to skip the entire gold leaf quest. If you go to this spot and cut the left bush, then jump across, and just keep pausing until it sounds like Link has fallen into the hole. There it is. When you unpause this time, you're going to be holding down and jump, and you'll vault all the way to the bottom of the screen, allowing you to cut your way through, and you'll be able to find the slime key without doing any of that quest. It looks like a gold leaf because we haven't found any of the leaves yet, but it definitely counts as the slime key. You can even work your way back to the cave to get the secret seashell inside. Alright, let's jump into Key Cavern. If you head right when you enter the Key Cavern, you'll find this treasure chest that's protected by a vacuum mouth that repels Link instead of pulling him in. You'll need the Pegasus boots to get it, so don't worry about it right now. Use one of those clay pots to open the door, and make your way into this room where if you clear all of the enemies, you'll find a chest containing the first key. In the next room we need to clear the enemies to open the doors. The chest though doesn't contain anything useful, it just has an enemy inside, so feel free to skip it. Over here on the right we're going to need to hit one of those crystal switches to get that chest. And up here, we're going to skip by those Stalfos enemies for now and go up the stairs. In here, there are 4 locked doors, so we'll start with the one at the top. This is where the crystal switch is. It also contains a key if you defeat the enemies. Once you have the small key, hit the switch and then make your way upstairs. Now we'll be able to open this chest, which contains a stone beak. There was an owl statue in the room with the crystal switch, but before we go up there was another room down here on the right that had a chest that we couldn't reach because it was blocked by more of those posts. Because we need to kill so many enemies in this dungeon, it should not be hard to find a piece of power, and that will give you a lot more strength and speed as you're dealing with the enemies here. Inside this chest is the map, so that will be handy to help us navigate this dungeon. Keep in mind that if you have the blue power of color, you may want to avoid the Guardian Acorns, because if you have a Guardian Acorn active, you won't be able to find a piece of power. We need to go to the right here, but we can stop in a couple optional rooms first. In here we'll encounter a new enemy called a Parod, and if you get too close to that guy, he'll teleport to a different part of the room, so you'll want to attack him at range, perhaps with one of those stone pots. To defeat the Parods in this optional room, you'll want to use a bomb. Drop the bomb and then pick it up and toss it across the gap. Remember, if you get too close to the Parods, they'll teleport away, so this is the easiest way to deal with them. Once all of the enemies, including the hidden Zols, have been cleared in this room, you'll find a key. There's another Zol all the way on the left side, so don't miss him. And you'll also be able to grab that flying heart in the air if you need it. Alright, let's go through the door that we actually need to go through. This Parod on the conveyor belt is easy to deal with. Just keep jumping towards him and he'll get out of your way. In this room you'll want to clear out the enemies to find a key. So make sure you get all of them, and the key will appear over on the left side. There are several hidden enemies in here, so make sure you walk all around until you find them all. The stairway in the corner of this room leads to the boss, but we'll need a bunch of keys before we'll be able to access it. Instead, clear the enemies in this room and head up, where we'll fight the mini-boss of this dungeon, the Dodongo snakes. Dodongo dislikes smoke, so we're going to use bombs against these guys. You want to place a bomb right in front of the mouth, or pick one up and throw it towards the mouth. That has a very good chance of success. Once the enemy eats the bomb, you want to wait for a moment until it breathes out smoke and turns blue again before placing another bomb. It will change direction after it's been hit, so be ready for that. Once you've defeated both Dodongo snakes, the door on the right will open, and this treasure chest contains the prize we've been looking for, the Pegasus boots. The Pegasus boots allow you to dash, and they'll allow you to go through these pointed rock formations. They'll also allow you to do a devastating attack when you dash with your sword, and if you pair it with your feather, you'll be able to jump very far. The tiles on the floor of this room form an arrow that points towards the wall below, and if you tap it with your sword, you can tell that you need to bomb through it. But before we go there, we want to head up first. These enemies, the buzz bombs, are very dangerous if you strike them with your sword. They'll count down and then explode. The better way of dealing with them is to use bombs. If you hit them with a bomb, they will always drop another bomb, So if you can kill 2 or more with a single bomb, you can actually gain bombs from fighting them. In this room, you'll be able to get the compass, but that's not the only thing here. You'll want to use a bomb on the wall to the left. So that's a little bit tricky. It is not indicated with any kind of crack on the wall that you can get through there. Well, that's not entirely true. There are cracks on the other side of the wall, but you couldn't see them from where we were at. Once you clear all the enemies in this room, you'll find a small key, and we're definitely going to need it. There's a fairy under this pot if you need a recharge, and once you're ready to go, head back to the right. If you cleared any of these buzz bomb enemies by striking them with your sword instead of hitting them with a bomb, they will respawn when you come back into the room. So that's another good reason why you should fight those guys with bombs. Use a bomb on this wall as we discussed before, and make your way downwards. You can see there's a crack in the wall on the left, but first we're going to want to do a super jump across this gap. To do that, we're going to need to equip our Pegasus boots and the Roc's Feather at the same time. So get a good dash going, and then jump, and you'll make it all the way across. Over here, you're going to do the same thing, and inside the chest, you'll find the Nightmares key. It may seem like we have everything we need to finish this dungeon, but we actually still need 2 more small keys to be able to access the boss's room. We'll use a bomb on this cracked wall and make our way to the left. And if we go left one more time, we'll clear out the Zols in this room, and the doors will open, but instead of going up this time, we're going to go to the left. In this room, if we take out the 2 Parods, we'll find a key, and using your Pegasus boots is another way you can fight these guys. They don't seem to teleport away if you're dashing towards them. Weird. We'll skip the Guardian Acorn so that we can potentially get a piece of power, and then we'll head up through this one-way door. Clear the enemies out here, and it will make a treasure chest appear on the right side, and then we'll go up through another one-way door that will take us around. This room is a convenient place to refill your bombs if you need them, and the owl statue here gives us a tip on how to defeat the Dodongo snakes, but we've defeated them already. We'll take this opportunity to restock our bombs, and then we're going to make our way to the raised area in the lower right corner of the room, and we'll follow that path downwards to where we made the treasure chest spawn earlier. This one, unfortunately, only contains rupees. So where is the last key? Well, there are a few more chests that we haven't collected back near the entrance of the dungeon. Just like before, we'll need to pick up one of these pots and throw it at the door to open it up. And if we head up the left side in this room, there are a few of those pointed rock formations that we need the Pegasus boots to get through. So just dash on through those, take out this enemy up here, and then we can work our way back down to the room where those 2 Stalfos are. If you clear those 2 enemies before clearing that one tiny red Zol up on the left side, you won't get the chest and you'll probably wonder what's going on. It's because you had to clear that other enemy, and now we'll be able to get the rupees that you can find here. There's 200 of them, so if you were hard up for money before, you should be in pretty good shape now. That, of course, was not a key though. The key is located in this chest over on the right side. If you have your Pegasus boots and sword equipped, you can even kill the vacuum mouth with a charge attack. Inside the last chest, we'll find the final key that we need. That will bring our total up to 4, and when we head back down to the room below where the Dodongo snakes were, we can start pressing through the key blocks. 3 and 4, and that will lead us down to this room. Now normally you would just charge into that thwomp at the top and he would fall, but it's possible to make a big jump across using your boots and the Roc's Feather. In this room we'll clear out the Parods, so just dash through them using your Pegasus boots, and there's also that heart in the middle if you need it. We don't really need it right now, so we'll head into this room. If you clear out the keys in this room, You'll be able to find a small key, but we won't need it for anything. It's just an extra one. And then we'll use our nightmare key to enter the boss's room. This boss is called Slime Eyes, and to make it appear you need to dash attack one of the walls. Then slowly attack it until it looks like it's about to separate it, and then hit it in the middle with a dash attack. Try to charge up your sword and hit both bosses at the same time with a spin attack. That will make them go into the air and land in the same place, so you can easily hit them at the same time. You want to try to jump right before they land so you don't get stunned, and it will only take a few swings of your sword to finish off the Slime Eyes. Once they're defeated, head on up into the treasure room and collect the Sea Lily's bell. As the bell chimes and the dungeon fades to white, we hear that familiar voice calling once again. This time, it's very clear what it wants us to do. Waterfall. It is hidden in the waterfall. As you emerge from the dungeon, you'll get another message from Mr. Owl. How many instruments have you gotten so far? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. 3. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a smart owl. But in any case, now he's telling us that we need to go to a place called the Yarna Desert, which definitely does not contain a waterfall, but it does contain the key that we'll need to open up the next dungeon. Before we head out there, if we use the Pegasus boots on this tree near the phone booth, we'll be able to find our 10th secret seashell. And now that we have 10, we need to make sure that we don't collect any more secret seashells until we return to Seashell Mansion. We'll also be able to use the Pegasus boots to get some treasure out of the cave around this corner. So head up here past the pinchers and use a bomb on the cracked area of the wall on the left. You could have gone into here before, but we didn't have the Pegasus boots, so we would not have been able to get past these pointed rocks. Watch out for the spark that patrols the walls. Let it get around and then dash through the objects. Head up to the top and loop around, waiting for this spark to get out of the way. And you'll be able to head down, bust through this rock, push to the left and get the chest. But it only contains 50 rupees. It seems like that's the only prize here, but there's a hidden room that's deviously concealed on the right side of this chamber. There's no cracks in the wall that are visible, but you will hear a different sound if you tap it with your sword. Inside you'll find a piece of heart. As a kid, I could never get the last heart container in this game, and I have a feeling that that piece of heart may have been the reason why. Once you have the piece of heart, make your way out of the cave, and if we head to the right, we're going to be able to trade the stick that we got from Kiki the monkey for a honeycomb. Standing next to the bee's nest is Tarin, the character that we know is loosely based on Mario from Super Mario Bros. And while it made a lot of sense earlier in the game when he was picking mushrooms or transforming into a raccoon, two totally Mario things to do, being chased by a horde of angry bees is a little bit less in character, unless it's maybe a reference to Donkey Kong 3, but I think that's a stretch. In any case, we'll be able to pick up the honeycomb, and we'll be able to trade it for another item when we get to the animal village. If we head to the right, we'll take the shortcut path this time, but we're not going to the castle, we're heading to Seashell Manor. Because we have exactly 10 shells, we can cash them in to get an 11th shell for free. So head on up here and go inside the mansion, and if you have 10 shells, you'll get another gift. Don't forget that if you miss these extra shells, you'll still be able to eventually get the sword, but it may take you longer, so you should try to get them when you have the chance. Now that we have the 11th shell, there are actually a couple more right here in this area that we can collect, so we should follow the path around and take it down this time, which will lead us into this rock maze area. I guess that's what we can call it. Use your power bracelet to lift this rock, and underneath it you'll find the 12th secret seashell. But that's not the only secret seashell in this area. If we head down here to the left and enter this cave, we'll find another one of those enemies that hides underneath the skull. Those guys are pretty annoying, but we were able to get a fairy to refill our health. And then we'll head down through this cave and exit below. This will take us to an area that leads to some water, or it can also take us to a strange haunted house, but it's not going to lead us to another shell. Instead, we need to use bombs on the wall over here on the left. There's no cracks on the wall again, but there is a bit of gravel in front of it, indicating that there might be something hidden over there. If we go up the stairs, we'll be able to push some rocks out of our way and jump over this pit, and then we can work our way around and we'll be able to get out through the door below. So just push a couple more rocks, get through these enemies, and exit the cave. If you go down, you'll find a dead end, but if you head up, you'll discover an owl statue that says, "Around here, secrets are nigh." But that's a total lie, because there's definitely a secret seashell hidden right here. So make sure to dig that up, and then we can go back into the cave and return the same way that we came. That brings our total shell count up to 13, and at this rate it won't be long before we have the 20 that we need. Hop back across using your feather, and we'll be able to go to the right, and then down to exit the cave. From here, we're going to head to the animal village. It doesn't seem like you should be able to get to the animal village unless you have the hook shot or maybe the flippers, but there's a secret passage that we can use. So if you head across here, you can see we need the hook shot to get across the water, but if you cut this bush, we'll find a stairway that leads down here. You can walk in the shallow water, but not in the darker water, so you'll want to avoid that, and use your Pegasus boots to break through to the other side. This area is crawling with buzz blobs, and we know that if you hit them with the sword, you'll get electrocuted, but if you shoot them at range with the bow, you'll be fine. This sign tells us that the animal village is to the right, but before we head over there, if we go down into this area, we can find another secret seashell. This path takes us around the outskirts of the animal village, right near the edge of Martha's Bay. We'll cross over this bridge, and up here we'll find another one of those owl statues, and this one tells us that secrets are like water when it comes to bridges, a clue that is indicating that we should go underneath the bridge that we just found. We can't do that right now, but if we dig near the statue, we will find the 14th secret seashell, so make sure to do that, and then head back down across the bridge and go to the right. From here, we're going to go back to where we saw that sign about the animal village, and we're going to head inside. Once we get into the animal village, we'll talk to this friendly rabbit who wishes that Marin was with us. And that's going to be the theme around this place. All of these animals really like Marin. This rabbit tells us that a lazy walrus may be blocking the path to the Yarna Desert, so that could be a problem. And when we head into this colorful building, we'll meet an alligator artist. This is Sail the banana guy's brother, but more interesting in this room is the hippo in the upper left corner. She tells us to go away when we talk to her, and that's because in the original Japanese version, she was clearly posing for a nude portrait, and she covers up when we come inside. So there's a little bit of censorship at play there. Someone thought that the teetotalers in North America would be offended by implied nudity on a cartoon hippopotamus. This rabbit tells us about something called a dream shrine back in Mabe Village, which we haven't seen yet and is something we should look for the next time we're back there. In this little house, we meet a goat woman who's less upset about us barging into her home than she is about the fact that we did so without bringing her flowers. So whenever we have some flowers, we'll have to come back here, and this house seems to be empty, but it actually isn't. We'll need the magnifying glass to see what's in there. This rabbit is unable to visit Mabe Village because of all the monsters, but there's a warp hole that will take you almost directly there, rabbit. So if you want to go to the village, you totally can. Stop making excuses. And if we head down here, we'll see the sign that tells us about the entrance to the Yarna Desert, but there's that walrus that we heard about blocking the way. He seems to be dreaming about Marin, so maybe if we brought Marin with us, we'd be able to get through. Before we leave the animal village, we should enter this house, where we'll meet the bear chef. The bear would really like the honeycomb that we just found, and he'll trade us for a pineapple. So that seems like a fair deal. We'll be able to use the pineapple later, up in the mountains. In addition to giving us the next item that we need for the item trading quest, the bear confirms that we should bring Marin with us to wake up the walrus. So good idea, bear. It's almost like we thought of that ourselves. And if you follow the path down this way, you can walk through the water and you'll find a warp hole. We've only seen one other warp hole, so this is going to take us back to the Ukuku Prairie, right near Mabe Village. We'll use our power bracelet to pick up this rock and move it out of the way. And now that we're back in the village, if you don't have very many arrows, you should definitely stock up at the store. We're going to need arrows in the next dungeon, and they're not that easy to obtain once you get in there, so make sure you have a good supply of arrows before moving forward. If you need more bombs, you may want to pick those up too, and if you need to replenish your magic powder, you have to do that down at the Trendy game. We have a decent supply of bombs and magic powder right now, but we definitely needed the arrows, and now that we have a full supply, we're going to head up here and check out that dream shrine that we heard about in the animal village. All we need to do to enter the dream is to go inside this bed. And it's a little bit Inception right now. What's the time like inside of the dream shrine? The mimics in here will copy your movements, but it's very easy to just plow through them by equipping your sword and the Pegasus boots. As a bonus, dashing will keep you from stopping on any of the cracked spaces in the floor, and you won't ever fall through. We'll head up here first where we'll find some rupees. So pick up the 100 rupees, which will bring us back to maximum money after purchasing those arrows. And then we'll plow through this object and head up here where we'll find the Ocarina. And it's great that we found the Ocarina, but right now we don't know any songs, although eventually we'll be able to learn 3 of them, and they're all very useful. Now that we're finished in the Dream Shrine, let's pop into Popple's place. It seems that good old Popple has got himself lost in the woods. Is he lost in the woods though, or is he actually lost in the mountains? Yeah, that's where we're actually going to find Popple. Don't go searching for him in the mysterious forest. And if we drop down here, Marin is usually hanging out here by the weathercock singing her Ballad of the Windfish song, but now that we need her, she's not there. Huh. Well, it seems that Marin is down at her favorite spot in the Taranbo shores, but before we head down there, if we peek in the window at Grandpa Yorira's house, we'll be able to get another photo opportunity from the photographer. It's a little bit of a creepy photo of a guy through his window, but if you want to complete the album, it's something we'll need to do. As we head down near the Taranbo shores, you may recall earlier that there was a tree near the tail cave that we need to bump into with our Pegasus boots. So we'll head down here and bump into this tree, but you need to hit it from the side, not from the top. It's very possible that someone may have hit that tree from the top and thought there was nothing in it, but if you hit it from the side, you'll be able to get another secret seashell. Once you have it, we're going to head down to the shore. So we'll equip our sword, and make our way down to the bottom. Just keep dropping down until you get to this area, and we're going to head over to the right. We want to go all the way to the right to the place where there was a treasure chest that we haven't picked up yet, and we'll be able to collect that, and then we'll go down and find Marin. We'll equip our power bracelet so that we can pick up these rocks, and this chest just contains 50 rupees, so not super exciting, but if you've been wondering what's in there, that's what it is. And down here, we found Marin. We should definitely stay and talk to her for a while. Unlike the other townsfolk that seem fairly happy with their simple existence in Mabe Village, Marin feels that there must be more than this provincial life. She asks many of the questions that the great early explorers asked themselves. Where do the trees come from? And what's out there beyond the sea? As usual, Link remains silent. He's a very good listener, but it's at times like these that I wish he would open up a little bit. Just tell her, Link. Tell her about Hyrule. Tell her about all the places that you've seen. Maybe in the end it's best to not get her hopes up. She asks if you're listening, and if you say no, she'll tell you her story again. So for now we'll say yeah, and then as if she can read Link's mind, she says that she'll go with us to meet the walrus. We got Marin. Is this your big chance? Big chance for what? Well, in any case, now that Marin is with us, there's a few things that we need to do before we go to the animal village, especially if we intend to complete the photo album. The first photo op is located down in the lower left corner of the map. So you want to head over to here, and you want to go down onto this little plateau, and when you walk out to the end of it, you'll see this cutscene. This is the only time in the game when you're going to have Marin with you, so if you want to see these little cutscenes, you should definitely check them out now. She asks, aren't you going to say anything? No, he's more of the quiet type, Marin. She wants to take a picture, although I don't think either of them has a camera. Still, someone takes the picture, so I suspect that our friend the photographer is somewhere nearby. From here, we're going to go back towards Mabe Village, where we'll be able to do 2 more photographs and a couple other bonus activities. We found a piece of power. I hope Marin is impressed with the way we're able to deal with these Octoroks. And we'll head back this way, up past the library, and we're going to go into the well. Once you drop down the well, don't move until Marin lands on top of you. And it seems that the photographer is waiting down there to take the picture. How did he know we would be down there? I don't know. I think the photographer may be using some kind of dark magic. That's one of the funnier pictures, but you won't get to see it right now. If you want to check it out, you'll need to view your album back at the photo hut. If you head up to the weathercock, you'll get another photo, this one with Tarin. It looks like we were getting ready to take a picture and then Tarin kind of barges in, but we wanted to take a picture with him anyway. So get in there, Super Mario. And the photographer is of course just waiting around the corner to snap the picture. This is another one that you won't get to see until you go to the photographer's hut and check out the album. That's it for the photographs, but while Marin is with you, there's a few more things you can do. She does not like it if you hit a cuckoo, and if you smash a pot while she's around, she'll say that you're a bad boy. Oh. Another thing you can try is heading to the Trendy game. And this is by far my favorite thing to do with Marin. She'll want to play the game, and well, it turns out that she's a pro. I mean, I thought that we were good at this game, but wait until you see Marin play it. At first, it seems like she's totally messing the game up. I mean, you're supposed to stop in the upper left corner. That's the easiest way to do it, Marin. But then she goes all the way down here and picks up the store owner. Pretty awesome. Now I can tell you that I have tried to do that by myself, and you are not able to pick up the store owner, so you have to be a real pro to do this. The store owner does not appreciate being picked up by the crane, and although we've taken him for almost 1,000 rupees, he kicks us out and says that Marin is not allowed to play anymore. If you try using your shovel, Marin gets unreasonably excited. She says to dig to the center of the earth. I don't think we have time for that right now, Marin, but thanks for the suggestion. Once you're done having fun with Marin in the village, we're going to take the warp hole back to the animal village. So head out to the right, and there's your local warp hole. So we'll hop in and Marin will magically be teleported with us, even if she doesn't want to. So we'll head up here, and once we get to the village, everyone is very excited to see Marin, especially her friend the bear. I don't know what the relationship between Marin and the bear is, but he seems a little bit upset that he doesn't get to be alone with her. Well, once you're done talking to the bear, we'll go down and meet up with the walrus, because that's what we actually came for. So we'll cut through the bushes, and whenever we get to the walrus, Marin will sing her trademark Ballad of the Windfish. Say yes and she'll start it up. As Marin sings her song, the walrus will begin to awaken. At first he'll just be bobbing his head, but then he'll start jumping up and down excitedly, until eventually he'll flop right over the edge and land in the water. Once the walrus is gone, a rabbit from the animal village will come out to talk to Marin, and then she'll leave our party. We'll have to venture forward into the Yarna Desert alone. So make your way to the right, and in here we're going to find some levers that we'll have to face. So charge up your sword, the levers will attack, and if you can get right in the middle of all of them, you can take them out in a single hit. These cactus monsters appear to be the Pokies from the Super Mario Bros. Series, and if you use your magic powder on these bones in the lower right corner, they'll give you a clue. They like the magic dust. He tells you to use a bomb in the place where the sand swallows you, and we'll find a treat on the other side. Well, I definitely like treats, so we'll have to do that. The boss here is the Lanmola, and this guy is almost too easy. Equip your arrow bombs and fire them simultaneously at the boss. You can hit the boss anywhere with the arrow bombs, and it only takes 2 to defeat him. Once he's gone, he'll drop the angler key, and we'll need to go into the middle of the quicksand to retrieve it. Now this is the room that those bones were talking about. We can bomb up here and find another piece of heart. We only need one more now to get another full heart container. There's not much else to find here in the Yarna Desert, so as you exit the cave, be careful not to touch the cacti in this area. They can certainly damage you. And once you clear out these levers, we can look at this owl statue to receive an ominous message. Sea bear's foam, sleep bear's dreams, both end in the same way. Crash. Very ominous. If you head down here along the right side, we'll be able to find one more secret seashell concealed underneath this rock. That brings our shell total up to 16, and if you're worried that we should have gone back to Seashell Mansion after we had 15 shells, don't worry about that. There's no bonus for 15. Once you have the angler's key, the piece of heart, and the secret seashell, there's nothing else to find here in the Yarna Desert, so you'll want to follow this path to the exit. But first, we'll get another message from our friend the owl. He tells us that we need to go to the waterfall. Oh yeah, the waterfall. Almost forgot about that. So let's head down here, and we're going to take the warp hole out of the animal village. Before we leave this area though, we're going to find Marin singing her Ballad of the Windfish for the residents of the animal village, and now that we have the Ocarina, she'll teach us how to play it. You don't need to equip the Ocarina, simply talk to Marin, and you'll have a little jam session with her, where you'll instantly learn the song. We'll need the Ballad of the Windfish later in the game, but not until the very end. Still, it's good to learn it now while we can. There are a couple optional uses for the Ballad of the Windfish, so we will get a little bit of use out of it before the end of the game. Once you're done playing music with Marin, we're going to head to the right, and that will take us to the warp hole. Make sure you tell her that you remember the song, or you won't be able to get it and you'll have to perform it again. The song will always remain in your heart, and it will always remain as choice number 1 on the Ocarina. It seems that these animals are totally absorbed in Marin's song, even after she's done singing it. And we'll hop on through and make our way to the Ukuku Prairie, our next destination. So where is this waterfall? Well, we want to follow the path north. So keep walking up this way, clear out any boulders that are in your path, and jump over any pits with your feather. But just keep working your way up. We want to get towards the mountains, over near where the photographer's hut is. So keep heading in that direction. We'll cut through this wasteland. Watch out for the crows that will attack you here. And over here, this is right near the photographer's shack, but we're not going to go down to his screen right now. Instead, we're going to head over here to the left, right near the edge of the swamp, and we're going to pick up these rocks and head over to the right. There's a ladder here that leads to the windfish egg, but we're going to pass it by for now and keep heading to the right. We'll need to pick up this rock and continue walking this way. This is the area where we'll find the waterfall. There's a dead end over here to the left, but if you wanted to see that, you can. And we're going to check out this area. Over here you see a cave in the back wall that we can't reach just yet. And if you stay down here, you'll find an area that we won't be able to access until we have the flippers. But this is what we were looking for. The waterfall, and in front of it, the keyhole where we need to insert the angler's key. If you head over to the right, you'll find another warp hole, so that will add that warp hole to our list of possible destinations. But now we need to climb up into the mountains to be able to get into the next dungeon. It's almost never as simple as just putting the key into the lock. There's a little bit more to it. To get up to the dungeon, we'll need to go through some caves, and we'll head up here. The cave that we need to go through is on the left, but if you want to see what's up top here, we can explore for a moment. It's just a dead end. So we'll pick up these rocks with our power bracelet and enter the cave. This cave is sort of like the gateway to the Eastern Mountains, so you should be very familiar with it by the time you finish the game. To get through, you just want to push these 2 rocks and go up the stairs, and then make your way over to the right. At the top of the next set of stairs, you'll see a piece of a heart container that we can't get just yet, and if we head over here, we can go outside, where we'll find a treasure chest that contains 50 rupees. Very nice. Back inside the cave, equip your Pegasus boots so that you can break through to the right, and keep them equipped because you'll need them again on this screen. Once you're back outside, is that our friend Popple? It is Popple, and as he said he would be, he's lost in the hills. If we enter this cave, we'll be able to rescue him, so go up the stairs, and inside this chest you'll just find an enemy, so you can skip it if you want, and then just head down, where we'll find the ledge that Popple is hanging out on. If you have the pineapple, you'll be able to save him. So give him the pineapple, and he's going to give us a hibiscus flower. Hibiscus is the favorite flower of the goat woman back in the animal village, and now that we have it, the next time we're in the animal village, we'll be able to exchange the hibiscus for something else. But right now we're headed to the next dungeon, so we'll do all of that later. Let's head back into this cave and continue on our way. Once we get back outside, we're going to head to the right, and if you keep going to the right, eventually you'll reach a dead end where you'll need the flippers to continue. So if you head over here, we're going to need the flippers to move on from there, but if you drop down right here, that will put us exactly where we needed to go. This is level 4, the Angler's Tunnel. As you might expect from a place called the Angler's Tunnel, there's a lot of water in here, but we don't have the flippers just yet. If you need a refill on your bombs, you can get some over on the left, and then you're going to head up here and make your way across the top to the right, where you'll find this room and a chest that contains the stone beak. So that was pretty easy to find, but equally easy is the map. Just head straight up here, follow this path along, head to the right and then go up, and you'll find another chest, and yep, that's the map all right. So that's a pretty good start for the beginning of this dungeon. Use your Pegasus boots to dash and then jump with your feather to get across that large gap. And once you get to this room, we're going to need to use bombs to break this purple block with the cracks in it. And if you need to get rid of this enemy that's floating around, you can use the magic powder on it. That'll get him out of there. The other enemy, the pea hat, can only be damaged when it's not moving, so you need to wait until it stops and then hit it with your sword. Pea hats are kind of an annoying enemy type, but for the most part, you don't really have to ever kill them in this game. We can use our bombs again to get through this room. Patiently wait for the enemies to move out of your way, drop your bombs, and don't worry about being on top of the explosion. The bombs will not damage you in this game. Grab the small key, and if you need it, you can also get the heart over on the left side. Once you're done in this room, head back down. We now have 2 small keys. We just need some doors to open up. We'll use our boots and feather to get across this large gap again, and we're just going to follow the path back the way that we came, and when we head down to the bottom here, we'll see one of those rooms where we can use a key. In this room, we're going to need to use our shield to flip over these spike shell beetles. So flip them over and then finish them off with the sword, and make sure to kill all of the enemies to make the door open. In this room, we're going to find the compass. It's the only thing that we really haven't found yet as far as items that will help you navigate the dungeon, so make sure to pick that up before you move on. Before we head through the locked door on the right, we should go down first, and when we enter the room, we'll hear the sound that indicates that there's another key in this room. The key is located in the chest, and if you stay in the middle of the room, that'll make it easier to fight off these enemies. You'll need to clear them out to make the door open. So just fight these enemies, stay out of the dark water, and work your way back to the door once it's opened. Now that we got the key from that room, we'll head over here to the right, and we will need another key to get through this room, and lost a piece of power, that's unfortunate. But we'll head up here, and we won't be able to reach that chest yet, but we'll have to come back here later when we get the flippers. We've been to this room before, but from the other side, and now we'll use our boots and feather to jump across the other way, and we'll use our final key to make our way up and to the left. We don't need to go down those stairs right now. We'll go down there later to find a key, but we won't be able to get it until we have the flippers. And you can see that the key fell down into a pit, and we'll have to retrieve it later. There's a small heart hidden over here in the right corner, so if you need that, feel free to pick it up. And in this room, we can use our shield to move these beetles out of the way. If they fall into the water, they will go away, but they'll respawn later when we come back through here. Use your feather to jump across the dark water here. The water won't damage you, but it'll make you go back to the beginning of the room, which is somewhat annoying. Wait patiently in this room and the pea hat will move out of your way, and then you can continue along up to the top. In here, there's another treasure chest, but this one just contains an enemy, so feel free to skip it. We're going to continue up, but if you want to take a look over here to the left, that's where the boss's room is. So keep that in mind for later, and we're going to head upwards. If you need it, you can find a small heart underneath the pot in the upper right corner. This room is an interesting one, but we're going to skip by it for now and head in here where we'll find a small key. Then we'll go back the way that we came. We need to go back to the room where the key fell into a pit. There was a locked door there that we need to go through. So we're just going to wait for the pea hats to move out of the way again, head back here, keep making our way to the right. We're going to have to jump across some water in this room, so we'll equip our feather. You don't really need to kill the enemies here, just get around them, and you'll see that these beetles respawn because they had fallen into the water before. And this is the room we're looking for. When you unlock the door, it'll be time to fight Cue-Ball. Cue-Ball is some kind of weird spider creature, and what you want to do is just stay here in the right corner, hit it, wait for it to spin, and hit it again. If you get a nice rhythm going, it'll never get out of this corner, and it will be very easy to defeat. If you need to warp back to the entrance of the dungeon, you can do that now. But we want to head through the door at the top of the room, and if you move fast enough, you can actually get through this room without pulling on the lever, but what you're supposed to do is use your power bracelet to pull this lever all the way down to the bottom, and then just hop over to the left using your feather, and you should be able to make it quickly enough to get through the door. This is the room we were looking for. Inside that treasure chest that's protected by a bunch of statues that spit fireballs at you, you'll find the flippers. The flippers do not need to be equipped, they work automatically, and will allow you to swim in the water. Clear out the enemies in this room. They're very annoying enemies that are similar to the dark nuts from previous games. You won't be able to attack them from the front. The best way to deal with these guys right now is to use your arrows, and then you want to remember the pattern of these lights. Hit each one to open the door, but memorizing the pattern is the most important part because you're going to need to recreate that pattern in the next room over here to the left. So hopefully you remembered the order. You'll want to take out these enemies so they're not in your way. And the first one was in the middle, and then down here in the lower left, then the upper right, then the upper left, and finally the lower right. If you need to write down the pattern, feel free to do that, and you can also use trial and error if you need to. Watch out for the thwomps. You're going to need to jump on the back of this one to get up to the top. Ride it up and then climb the ladder, and over here is where we'll find the Nightmare's Key. So this is pretty important. Now that we have the Nightmare's Key and the flippers, we have almost everything that we need to get to the boss, but we still need one more small key, the one that fell into the hole earlier. But first, there are a couple more chests that we can find as well. So we'll head up here, and if we go to the left, we can swim over to this treasure chest, which contains 50 rupees. Very nice. And then we will continue to the right. Follow the path up and to the right. We're looking for a stairway. It's in this room. Head down the stairs, and when you go over to the left, you'll find a small pool, and now that we have the flippers, we can dive in and get the key at the bottom. So make sure to get that small key, we're going to be needing it later, and then climb back up out of here. There is one more chest left here that we haven't found yet, so make your way down, use your Pegasus boots and feather to jump over this gap one more time, and then we'll swim over to this chest that only contains more rupees, which we really don't need at this point. However, if you need some more health, you can pick up this pot, underneath which you'll find a fairy. Once you're done in this room, we can make our way back the way that we came, and back across this large gap yet again. Now, we've walked by the way that we need to go to get to the boss's room several times now, and to get there we want to head to the left, and then we'll go down from this room, and the stairs that we need are over to the left. So we're going to go into this room, we'll hit that switch and go up through the locked door, which will open. And this is where we needed the last key to access these stairs. You can use your sword to fight through the cheeps that have infested this waterway. And something that you should be aware of, if you use your feather, you'll be able to quickly move upwards when you're underwater. This only works in the 2D side-scrolling sections. And you'll emerge near the boss's door, and since we have the Nightmares key, we'll be able to proceed inward. If you need one last heart, you can find it down here at the bottom, and the boss is located in a side-scrolling area this time. Pretty interesting. I recommend charging up your sword before you go in here. It's time to fight the anglerfish. Really one of the easiest bosses in the game. If you stay in this spot and just wait at the top of the screen, you can slash at the boss whenever he gets close enough, and he'll never be able to hit you. It's really that easy. Make sure to grab the heart container and then swim back out. Once we get back up out of the stairs, the door will be open, and we'll be able to grab the surf harp. Now, before we move on from this dungeon, I want to show you another way that you can get through it using just a few simple tricks that will allow you to totally short-circuit this dungeon and make it way easier. Because we're in a hurry this time, we're not going to get the stone beak or the map or any of that stuff. We're just going to head straight up and to the right, and we're going to get the first small key, which is the only small key that we're going to need. We'll be able to skip all the other ones. Use your Pegasus boots and your feather to get across here just like we'd done before, and use your bombs to get rid of the purple block with the cracks in it, and push the other one aside to get the key that you need. So we'll grab that key, and once you have the key, we're going to go back the way that we came, and we're going to do our first trick in the next room on the left. Go all the way to the top of the hallway here, dash, and after you jump, hold up, and you should be able to make it up to the top. That will allow you to skip a lot of this dungeon. And in this room, we'll do the next trick. Get these enemies out of the way, and you're going to jump over to the left. Whenever you get to the other side, start pausing the game until you see little splashes, and then when you unpause, you're going to hold left and jump, and you should make it to this room. Now, you may get stuck in the water here. Just keep mashing the buttons, and you should eventually get out. So hold to the left and mash the buttons, and eventually you'll get out of there. And now you can just walk straight up, do the pattern on the floor, and the door will open, leading the way to the flippers. So we were able to get the flippers that easily. Once you have the flippers, there's not much left that we need to do here in the dungeon. We just need to get the Nightmares key. Make sure that you know the pattern from this room so that whenever you're in the next room, you know what to do. We'll head over here. We don't even need the key in that box, and we will recreate the pattern in this room. So recreate that pattern, which will open the way underground. And once we go down here, this is going to take us where the Nightmares key is. And that is not the last trick that we're going to use. There's still one more that will make this dungeon even easier. So we'll head up here, we'll go down, and we'll grab that key. Normally, you would need to get another small key, press the switch, go up through the door, do all of that stuff, but you can actually just go over here to the left and do a diagonal jump, and that will take you right to the boss's room. pretty easy. Here's a different strategy that we can use for the anglerfish. Try using arrow bombs. Just get right over the vulnerable point on the fish and shoot your arrow bombs downward. It won't take very many to finish this guy off. And that's it. We've completed level 4, the Angler's Tunnel. And this time it only took a couple minutes. Whether you go through this dungeon the way that the developers intended, or you take the secret path, it doesn't really matter. Either way, you'll be able to get the 4th instrument, and we'll be halfway finished with this game. As the surf harp plays its beautiful melody, and the dungeon fades out to white, we get yet another clue about what to do next. Bay. Your road goes into the bay. But that's all the time we have for this episode of You Can Beat Video Games. Make sure to check out the epic conclusion in Part 2, where we'll take on the final 4 dungeons and finally wake the windfish. Until then, thanks for watching.